Welcome back to Heroes Next Door. Today on Station Rigs, we're going to be taking a look at this 2020 HME engine. We are in new Whiteland Fire Department in Indiana. We're just outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, and they've invited us in to take a look at their new engine. So this is our first station in Indiana. We've got a couple more stations we're doing, but before we get started, hit that subscribe, hit that notification so you can see them all. Now let's get started on this one. Sitting in the driver's seat and talking to the engineers. The cool thing about this 2020 is it's very easy to drive. You got a good visual out the front window. The steering is very simple. It's got a short wheelbase. I'm able to turn around in any of the cul-de-sacs that in their coverage area, and it's very easy to pump. All I have to do is pull up to the scene, pull on the brake, put it in neutral, drop it down to the pump gear, and put it back in drive. You're ready to go. So as I make my way out of the driver's seat, we're gonna go into the back passenger compartment. You notice these names on the side of the door. There's one on each side. There's a very specific reason for that. So stay tuned to the end. We're gonna talk about that in more detail. Making my way into the back of the passenger compartment, I noticed that it has limited seating. It has seating for 4. The reason for that is this is an EMS response vehicle also. They have a cabinet here that's set up for trauma, medical, whatever you need. They have a shelf for PPEs, and they have their AED and so forth. It's kind of cool to have a fire engine that is also a first responder. The thing about being a firefighter here is they think about safety. They have the integrated safety seats with my seat belts, but the other thing I noticed is the space that you have in this area. I got room to reach out my feet, and with all my bunker gear, I have my tools ready to go, my axe, my Halligan, and even to my left side here, I have my light, my radios, so it's very simple, very comfortable to ride going to a fire. Coming out of the passenger seat as a firefighter, I want to get right to work, and they set it up with 2 preset cross lays that are 200 feet, 1 3/4. I'm going to pull that off and go right to the fire. So arriving on a fire scene, there's multiple jobs to do. One is to get the hose to the fire. The other is for the engineer to get up here and start having water available. They have a 1,000-gallon tank on here, and you know it's full because of these cool lights. But if I need to start pumping right away, each of these levers are clearly labeled. So if they pull a certain hose, I know which one to go to. It has a pressure gauge for each one, so I know how much pressure I'm putting to the nozzle, but it has an integrated system that's preset. I just got to push that. I can dial it up and adjust it as needed, depending on how much the firefighters need. Coming down off the pump panel, I'm going to talk about this 1,000-gallon tank. This has a 1,200 gallon per minute pump, so you can run out of water pretty quickly. That's what these lights are for. I like the fact that they're very well lit, they're different colors, so even if I'm at the end of the nozzle at the house, I can turn around and see what my water level is. If I need more water, that's where these come in. This is your inlet and outlet. It's bringing in more water from a hydrant, maybe from another truck, or if I need to feed another line to put that fire out, this is where that's done. The other thing I noticed up here is the deck gun. So if we're having trouble putting a fire out and we need to move to defensive tactics, that's where this is going to come into play. It's time to make our way around this truck. First thing I run into is our scene light. This is a pole light. You just unscrew this, put it up, flip it on. It's going to lighten up any scene that you have. First compartment behind the driver is going to be the engineer's compartment. This is set up very nice. You have your air pack for your driver. Down below where this empty spot is where he's going to put his bunker coat because he's not going to drive with that on. It makes it a little safer. Other tools that we have in here are your spanner wrenches for each of your hoses. You have your hydrant tools. You have some Ys to add some more hoses. You also have a couple different nozzles if you know how to switch. You have an extra spare bottle, and that's pretty much about it. So let's move on to the next cabinet. The very next cabinet behind the engineer is going to be where many of their tools are stored. I want to give kudos to New Whiteland for what they did. They had the mounting rail system, but they took the time to measure their tools, to put them in here in a way that is easily accessible, very clean looking. I haven't seen many trucks this clean, so kudos on them. In here you have your axe, you have your pipe poles, you have your Halligan, you have your hose clamps, everything that you need to get the job done. So underneath their tools, they have a couple more compartments here. These are where their spare air cylinders are. They have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you think about the front of the engine here, we have 4 seats. You got 4 extra air cylinders. The final compartment on the driver's side, we're going to open up. And in here, they have their air ejector or air fan. They have your generator for your lights, and they have some spare lights. Even though we do have a scene light on the side of the truck, it's always nice to have lights up close to the scene. So bringing this in with a reel or even a portable one is a good way to go. Working our way around to the back side of the truck, we're going to work our way from the top to the bottom. Up top, we got 1,000 feet of 5-inch. These are the hoses that you're going to see running down the street to the fire hydrant. That's going to feed this truck. Next to that, you have a preset smooth bore. This is a 2.5-inch, and you got 200 feet of that. Underneath these cabinets here, you're going to have your ladders. You got a couple extra pipe poles. You got an attic ladder, you got a roof ladder, and your extension ladder. Up top here, you got your hard sleeves and your filters in case you need to do any kind of drafting. So down here is where they keep some of their rescue tools. This is not a rescue truck, but they do have the ability, if they arrive on scene and they need to do a rapid extrication, they can pop the door. So they do have a rescue earth tool ready to roll. So before we move on to the passenger side, I want to talk a little bit about this flag decal they have on the back of the truck. Most fire companies are putting flags on the back of the truck that are streaming. They chose to go with a decal. This red line flag represents all the fallen firefighters over the years. It's a good way to do it, nice, clean, looks real nice for anybody to see. And last but not least, if we ever have to put this 2.5-inch hose into service on that smoothbore, you better be ready, maybe have an extra guy because it's gonna put you on your butt. Making our way around to the passenger side, we're gonna hit all these compartments. But first I wanna take a minute and talk about the fact that they have slide-up doors. These slide-up doors are good because it's for safety reasons. You're not opening a door out into traffic or into a fire scene, people running into them. For sliding them up, keeping them out of the way, good thing to have. Underneath this compartment is where they store their saw and some of their cribbing. They are not a rescue, they are not a truck company, so they're not designed to go to the roof or cut cars apart, but they want to cover all their bases. So if they do have to do that, they have the availability to do that. Good thing to have, both your cribbing and your saws. So the next cabinet over the wheel, they don't have a whole lot of tools in here, but what they do have is a RIP pack. This RIP pack has a couple of things in it. It has your webbing in order if you need to make a drag. It has an extra bottle in it if you need to feed the guy that went down. RIT stands for Rapid Intervention Team. A couple of guys that are going to go in. If a firefighter goes down, they need to go get them. This pack you're going to bring with it. The other thing they have in here, which is unique, is their blitz fire. I like that it's in here because it keeps it clean and keeps it ready for the next fire. Underneath this cabinet, they have some more storage. This is where they have a couple more air cylinders, 1, 2, 3, and they have an ABC fire extinguisher. The third and final cabinet on the passenger side, this is where they have their extension packs. We call these high-rise packs, but here they don't have a whole lot of high-rises. They maybe have 1- and 2-story buildings, but they do have longer driveways at times. So in order to take that 200 foot off the side, they may need to add an extension. That's what these are for. They have some oil dry down here in case there's an accident and you need to clean some stuff up, an extra air cylinder, some more tools. So if you need to feed on this side or the other side, they got to make sure you have the tools. They also have another nozzle, smooth bore. So you got a lot of hoses ready to use. Moving along the passenger side, I want to take just a quick second to talk about this side. You also have an inlet and 2 outlets, just like on the other side. So no matter where you end up, you have a hydrant and availability to get water in and out either side. We're going to make our way up to the officer's seat and let's talk about what's inside. Making my way up into the officer's seat of this 2020, I noticed they have a lot of high-tech gadgets here. They have an MDC that not only gives you dispatches, but it gives you information about the scene. It tells you what units are responding, it tells you victims, tells you anything that you need to know to make everybody safe. They use a digital radio system. They have a thermal imaging camera called a TIC. They also have a 4-gas meter to keep you safe. Last but not least, they have communications between each other. They have a headset not only protect themselves from the noise that's going on, but they can talk from front to back and to the county. New Whiteland Fire Department is steeped in tradition. And if you don't pay attention, you might miss what they built into this truck. If you take a look at the number 11, those are to represent the Twin Towers during 9/11. The other thing that we noticed is the gray over red. The gray is representative of the military service. This whole town is very prideful of their military, their police, EMS, and fire. So to represent that, they wanted to make sure they get a color scheme that represents the town. But last but not least, if you look at the side of the trucks, they have 2 names. These names are volunteers that served for many, many years that were very instrumental in building this department. And what better way to honor them is to put them on a truck. Thank you for watching another episode of Station Rigs. We are in New Whiteland in Indiana. If you're interested in showcasing some of your stuff, do us a favor. Not only subscribe and hit that notification, but drop us an email and we'll see what we can do for you.